Boy, do I miss cartoons like this. Hey, what's up, Nerd Fam? This is your boy Gashawn, and welcome to Enter the Nerd, where we talk about fights, cartoons, comic books, wrestling, and tons of other nerd culture. Today, we're going to talk about 90s cartoons. And if you like today's video, make sure you subscribe and like the video, especially if you want to see more of that content. Now, when it comes to 90s cartoons, something that was really cool about that is I already made a video about like 90s anime, about how special those were to me and how much I think those really affect the anime we're seeing today. But I thought about 90s cartoons, just thought about just how cool they were and how some of them were just pretty inappropriate, but for some reason we really didn't have a problem with that, right? Now, I'm not gonna separate them by like which year. However, I will separate them from like which broadcasting network, like Cartoon Network and Nickelodeon and stuff like that. And obviously, you can tell which one I favor. But yeah, we're just gonna talk about those, just kind of go down memory lane, and afterwards, just let me know like which one that you like. You know what I mean? Because obviously, I feel like this was kind of a golden age for me. Obviously, especially because even in the '90s, we had offshoots from other places, in the '80s and '70s. In terms of the Scooby Doo's and whatnot. But we're not gonna talk too much about those. We're talking about the ones that were made in the '90s. And let's start now. So let's start with Cartoon Network. Now, I fell in love with Cartoon Network, obviously, because it was all cartoons all the time. It wasn't just when I came home from school on Saturday mornings, right? It was just all the time. Now, what was really cool, I think the ones that really stick out to me are the cartoons, if you remember that, right? Some notable ones would be like Dexter's Laboratory. Obviously, it just drove me nuts. Obviously, I was like, if my sister was like that, like I'd have to body slam her. And why is he the only one with the Eastern European accent? As well as the little like mini series that were inside of there, like the Justice Friends and I can't believe I'm forgetting the monkey's name, right? Like Simeon or something like that. I'm definitely gonna, when I'm done making this video, I'm definitely gonna put it up and remember it afterwards. And obviously like Powerpuff Girls, they were literally beating Mojo Jojo until like his brain came out of his head and we didn't care. And also, I remember they got like pretty much almost killed by Rowdy Rough Boys, and like that was interesting, I guess, right? Then we also have what else? Ed, Edd n Eddy. I just said that. Now, what I liked about Ed, Edd n Eddy, which I didn't realize till I got older, was, I mean, that neighborhood was literally like the neighborhood we grew up in, right? Like, we always had like the guy who looked up to his older brother. I guess someone who was really the nerd, someone who was possibly borderline special needs. Is that what Ed was? I don't know. Like just abnormally strong. Who knows what's going on with him? We had Plank, a foreign kid, Rolf, and obviously the girl that everyone liked in the neighborhood, right? Naz or whatever like that. That was cool too. We also had Cow and Chicken, which it's funny how like just you could just see everyone's butt. Literally everyone's butt was just out there, and nobody cared. There was actually a guy, the Red Devil dude, was walking on his butt. He literally, like, he held his legs up and was just walking on his butt, and that was, it was just great for us. It was great. You know what I mean? I don't know. I loved those cartoons, obviously, because, like, I mean, it was super, those were very adult. Let's just face it, they were. But we didn't care. As kids, we were just like, oh, this is cool, it's raunchy, or whatever we were thinking, right? It was just funny. What else do we have here? I would say, even shows that weren't cartoons. Oh wait, Courage the Cowardly Dog is one of my favorites. I have to like watch it on like Boomerang and stuff like that. I love that. I love the whole Muriel Eustace thing and watching him laugh with the little tooth hanging out of his mouth. That's hilarious to me. It's still hilarious to me to this day. And then stuff that's not the cartoons. Things that were like, they kind of had feelings from the '80s, like SWAT Cats. Right, I love that show. I felt cool watching it when I was a kid. We also had Captain Planet, right, which was crazy because I recently watched an episode. They were talking about AIDS. They had a episode where somebody had AIDS on that show. It's crazy. And they had like the pollution version of Captain Planet, which he was throwing like sewage at people, which technically means he was throwing poop at people. Okay, right? Like that's kind of gross. But yeah, It is what it is. We had Freakazoid, and I remember in the opening, he used to say "freaking me, freaking you." And I remember I said that. My mother was like, "Excuse me, what did you say?" I'm like, "No, it's a song," and she didn't care. I still got hit. She really didn't care. I can't believe I forgot about freaking Johnny Bravo, right? Like, just do the monkey with me. Just I love the Johnny Bravo, even though when you look at it later on, you realize he's pretty much committing sexual harassment. Then you're like, this was a problem. But look, only the '90s, right? Only in the '90s could people do stuff like that and then just do it blatantly. And like as kids, we just absorbed it, right? Then we had the Real Adventures of Johnny Quest, which obviously Johnny Quest, the original series, is like over 20 years older than that. It's like a Hanna-Barbera cartoon. But the Real Adventures of Johnny Quest was cool because it combined like traditional animation with like that 3D virtual reality stuff, and it was really cool because it would go into like different realities and save the day like mentally. It was cool. It was like some Inception stuff. I really loved that. And speaking of virtual reality, Reboot was an awesome show. Toonami used to show Reboot, and obviously that was cool because you had like the villain Megabyte and Bob and Dot and Enzo, right? Those were cool characters in there as well too. And it was cool because they would do the whole incoming game where they would like fight, complete the objective, and then there was actually a time where they didn't complete the objective, and it forced Enzo to grow up and just get Diesel for no reason, and Bob became a surfer dude. It was kind of weird, but it was cool. We accepted it at the time, I guess, right? And all that stuff was on. I mean, Reboot was on like other networks too, but that was on Cartoon Network. All those shows that I said did appear on Cartoon Network at the time during the '90s. And there's some others, like I said earlier. There's some that were also there, but I'm trying to save this ones that I know were made in the '90s. So I guess now we can move on to Nickelodeon. Nickelodeon had a lot of heavy hitters too. So where Cartoon Network had cartoons, like Nickelodeon had tons of originals. Obviously, we got some like we got to start with Rugrats, right? Just a whole bunch of babies having their own adventures, even though like they're sitting out there in a playpen or right there in the sandbox. It just took themselves to a whole new world. That was great. Like, and that that format was all good until they grew up and they just all the magic just flew out the window, right? We also have Hey Arnold. How can we forget about Hey Arnold, obviously, right? Like just playing in a neighborhood, all different types of that same trope that Ed and Eddie had, which is just growing up in a neighborhood, different types of things, going to school, playing, running into bullies, having a crush on some girl that doesn't really even know you exist, and then getting crushed on by a girl who you kind of wish didn't know you existed. Yeah. What's that? What am I forgetting? Helga. I was forgetting her name for a second. Yeah. We also had Doug, and I know Doug was on Disney too, but that was later. They got bought. That doesn't count. But Doug, obviously, right? Everybody loved that theme song. And once again, like we could relate. Like he's a kid. Obviously, he loved Patty Mayonnaise. Had his best friend Skeeter, who was blue, but everybody kind of just figured he was black. But we're gonna talk about that. Then we have Rocko's Modern Life, who once again one of those adult cartoons that just slip it in there. He was like a phone sex operator. That oh baby, I remember that, and like I remember I didn't get it, and then later on I was like, oh dear, this is phone sex operator. Yep, for the kids, 8 o'clock in the morning, right? Then we also had Angry Beavers. I like that show. A lot of my friends kind of liked it. Whatever. I thought it was funny. Then they had the variety show Kablam, which had that show inside of it, Action League Now, and like one of the dudes was like, Naked? No, The Flesh with the power of naked. I thought that shit was so hilarious. It had to be hilarious. Meltman and Stinky Diver. I thought that was hilarious to me. What else did Nickelodeon have? Cat Dog, which is just ridiculous concept. It's a ridiculous concept, but I loved it. I think we all loved it. Pinky and the Brain, that's a big one. Great theme song, and just the genius that just takes himself way too seriously, and even though he's supposed to be super smart, just literally winds up sometimes getting outsmarted by the stupid guy. Wild Thornberries, that's another one. Now, I don't know if people consider it a classic, but I liked it. Darwin actually reminded me of a lot of people I grew up with. Just those kids that just bouncing off the wall. sound like that too. Nickelodeon also had Real Monsters. Remember the dude that used to walk around with his hands, with the hands up with his eyes in it? Yeah, I knew a guy that used to kind of look like that. Not with his eyes out there, but like was hairy like him. It was weird, but whatever. But Nickelodeon also had, what was really good about the 90s is Nickelodeon also had shows like Legend of the Hidden Temple and Figure It Out, like those like cool game shows. I really enjoyed those too. Like I really missed those. They should really make a comeback. And obviously, maybe not so much the slime. Not slime. That was kind of weird. And Disney had a couple too. We could talk about like Darkwing Duck, which just made the cutoff, right? Let's Get Dangerous. Love that. We also have Gargoyles. Gargoyles is a big one. A lot of character development. They went like, back in time, alternate dimensions, fought robots. I love that show. That was actually, that was pretty awesome. Disney also had Recess, which I love that show, obviously. Just when they play dodgeball, I love that. Or kickball too. Pepper Ran, and even had like Aladdin, Goof Troop, Tailspin. All those cartoons were just so classic. And I think like if they threw them on, even though they don't really throw them on TV like that anymore, you have to like either pay for them on a streaming network or whatever. I think they would still stand the test of time and they'd be great, honestly. So yeah, I mean, Disney had some heavy hitters right there as well. I think I'm gonna end this particular video here. I just wanted to stroll down like memory lane with everybody here. Especially because like I was definitely a kid in the 90s, so I got a chance to really enjoy these when these came out. When they weren't reruns, and I had to like wait until next week to go find another one. They weren't in the streaming networks at that time then. And yeah, I know I didn't name every single one. So if there's any that you can think of, write it down in the comments. Let me know. Tell me if you like the ones that I chose. And yeah, keep on watching cartoons, keep on spreading the word, and please don't forget to enter the nerd.